Wednesday threatens each other with retaliation if attacked as the United Nations Security Council met amid fears of a wider war in the Middle East. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres cautioned against unending retaliation in the continuing conflict. Iran's UN Ambassador Amir Saeed Iravani said that the missile attack on Tuesday was to restore balance and deterrence. He said further de-escalation could be avoided if Israel stopped the war in Gaza and attacks on Lebanon. U.S. Ambassador to the UN Linda Thomas-Greenfield told the Council that U.S. support for Israel had been defensive.
Let me be clear. Israel will defend itself. We will act. And let me assure you, the consequences Iran will face for their actions will be far greater than they could ever have imagined. Last night's onslaught. Now the world must step up. Iran must pay a heavy price for this attack. Anything less is complicity. We demand immediate, crippling sanctions on
Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian warned on a strong response from Tehran to any further Israel actions against it and sought to rally Asian countries to each side as he visited Qatar on Wednesday. Pezeshkian arrived in Qatar a day after Iran fired waves of ballistic missiles at Israel, and Israel stepped up its war with Tehran's proxy Hezbollah by sending troops over the border into Lebanon. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said he would strike back at Iran following Tuesday's missile attack. At a joint press conference in Doha with Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, President said that if Israel acts in one way against Iran, then Tehran will respond in a more severe way. United States and European countries should tell Israel not to destabilize the region, Pezeshkian added. The Qatari Emir told the press conference that Doha would continue its mediation efforts to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, now nearly a year old. Qatar and other international mediators have been working on a ceasefire agreement for Gaza, but the talks have stalled. The Iranian president will also attend a summit of the Asian Cooperation Dialogue Nations in Doha. The apparent remains of a ballistic missile was seen lying in the desert in southern Israel on Wednesday following an Iranian missile attack on Tuesday. The missile attack by Iran marks a potentially dangerous new phase in the war, which was triggered by the Hamas-led assault on Israel on October 7th last year and followed by the Israeli invasion of Gaza, which has since spiraled into a wider conflict now threatening to draw in Iran. The Hamas attack on October 7 prompted the Iranian-backed Hezbollah group in Lebanon to fire a barrage of missiles against Israel, and the two sides have been engaged in daily cross-border fire ever since. Over recent weeks, the conflict has flared seriously, with Israel conducting the heaviest airstrikes against targets in Lebanon since the last war in 2006, and Hezbollah firing hundreds of rockets and missiles at Israel. Iran fired at least 180 ballistic missiles at Israel on October 1st, 2024, amplifying tensions in the Middle East that are increasingly marked by escalation after escalation, as United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres put it. Arriving in war-torn Ukraine shortly before Iran rained missiles on its own homeland, Israeli traveler Avihai was still mostly at ease. This year's holiday coincided with the sweeping ballistic missiles attack by Iran, a potentially dangerous new phase in the war triggered by the Hamas-led assault on Israel last October. It also comes as a result or as Russia forces gain ground in eastern Ukraine amidst the 2.5-year-old invasion and sending missiles, drones, and bombs over cities across Ukraine. Despite the dire situation at home, Jewish travelers or revelers in Oman remained defiant and dismissed Iran's attack, whose only known fatality was a 38-year-old Gazan. The streets of the central Ukrainian city, about 200 kilometers, 124 miles south of the capital Kyiv, were filled with the sound of chants and rhythmic clapping as celebrations were underway. More than 30,000 believers arrived in Oman, according to the United Jewish Community of Ukraine. Another 14,000 were unable to reach Oman, it added, some because Iran's attack had foiled their plans. Ukrainian troops received an order to pull back troops from the embattled eastern hilltop town of Voleda to avoid encirclement by Russian troops, the Eastern Military Command said on Wednesday. The town, which had a population of over 14,000 people before the war, has been devastated with Soviet-era apartment buildings smashed apart and scared. Control of Voleda, which lies at the intersection of the eastern and southern battlefields, is significant because it will ease Russia's advance as it tries to pierce deeper behind the Ukrainian defensive lines. The advanced Moscow's forces, which control just under a fifth of Ukraine, has underlined Russia's vast superiority in men and material as Ukraine pleads for more weapons from the Western allies that have been supporting it. Russia has dismissed the possibility of nuclear talks with the United States, citing Washington's stance on NATO expansion. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova said on Wednesday. She said Russia saw no point in dialogue with Washington without respect for Russia's fundamental interests, saying it was the problem of NATO's expansion into the post-Soviet space which poses threats to common security. On Tuesday, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said that Russia will not discuss signing a new treaty with the United States to replace an agreement limiting each side's strategic nuclear weapons that expires in 2026, as it needs to be broadened and expanded to cover other states. And that's news this hour. We're up with the morning show next in about 6 minutes. I'm Charles Pius. Good morning.
It is another beautiful morning on Signature Television. Today is third day in the month of October, and it is Thursday. So we usually say Throwback Thursday. What are you throwing back to? Meanwhile, we are still in the season of the independence, the 64th independence of Nigeria. And we're throwing back to all the heroes, our heroes past. We are praying that wherever they are, they are going to, they'll be praised. Okay, this is how we do it right here. We'll bring you the newspaper headlines, review, and interviews, and every other thing you will have lined up for you this morning. My name is Belinda Nwobodo.
My name is Charles. Apparently, speaking of throwbacks, I just wish we could throw back to the days where Naira was a lot better than every other currency.
Exactly.
In fact, there was a time Naira was actually better than the pounds. There was a time Naira was better than dollars. There was a time Naira was better. In fact, when they say they were good old days, those were the good old days.
Good days, yeah.
Things were a lot better. People flocked into this country for investment. I'm not sure it's the same thing.
No,
if you look at the amount of monies right now, talking about the recent devaluation of the Nigerian currency, £1 is over 200,000. It's over 200 naira. That's to tell you that, we as a nation, we haven't really gotten it right when it comes to our economic policies. Yeah, there are some certain things that the current administration is doing to try to make sure that our economy is strong, but some persons don't see anything
coming out of
that
it
will happen in the next 2 or 3 years, given the devaluation of the currency and, of course, the
inflation.
fact that we're not able to get our acts right. I mean, the Independence Day, so many persons didn't feel anything about it because, again, it's just same old story about how bad the economy has been mismanaged over the years.
Okay, we'll keep on talking about these things at 9 o'clock or 8:30, 9 o'clock this morning. All right, we're going to take a short break and we'll come back with that right into the newspaper headlines. Stick around.
Welcome back. You're watching Signature Morning. We're going straight to the headlines on our dailies this morning. We're kicking off on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. On the Vanguard, Tinubu jets off to UK amid lobbying for cabinet slots. And still on the Vanguard, ICPC recovers over 13 billion naira diverted from government coffers in 1 month. WHT, that's withholding tax. Operators hail federal government seek increase in exemption ceiling due to devaluation.
Okay, that is the Guardian newspapers. All right, still on the Guardian newspapers, on the Gubapo, youth storm INEC office, demand redeployment of REC.
Confusion over Rivers local government polls as REC denies releasing 2023 voter register to RSEC.
Reps demands GCON for Abbas, says Speaker above CJN.
Senate rejects private investigator bills amid fears.
All right, that's the most we can take from the Guardian newspapers this morning. Let's take a look at the Nigeria Tribune. Just above the marks, we have Rivers local government poll. APC factions disagree over participation in exercise with the rider why we have not released voter register. That's from INEC. You can see more on the page 21 of the Tribune this morning.
Oil and gas sector. Federal government introduces tax incentives, VAT modifications on diesel, CNG, others with the rider. Gazette's withholding tax 2024 regulations.
Senate summons works minister over Oyo Ogbomosho Road with the rider backs establishment of agri-university in ENUGU.
Tinubu leaves for UK on 2 weeks annual leave.
Ekiti returning to Awolowo's farm settlement area to boost food security. That's from Oyebanji.
Many missing as boat carrying over 200 passengers sinks in Niger, with the rider. Sources say 160 feared dead.
Atiku writes National Assembly proposes rotational presidency with the rider wants minimum education qualification raised.
Hire military contractors to wipe off terrorists. Ndume tells Tinubu laments killings of 6 farmers in Borno.
A delegate threatens to sue APC director for 5 billion naira over alleged defamation.
Reps rejects Abbas's CFR demand GCON like Akmabio's.
I am not working against Yoruba interest. That's from Bamidele. And that's the most we can take from that particular newspapers. Let's take a look at the Punch this morning. Local government poll. INEC withholds registers for Barawike's camps clash.
Local government autonomy. Governors in fresh move to delay implementation. Local governments plan to get October allocation from Federation. Account as Noge. Others urged enforcement.
An MPCL porter shut down delays petrol supply. That's from marketers.
PDP crisis. Onyilola peace panel begins sitting on Monday.
Customs intercept 682 million naira cannabis indica at Tinkan port.
National honors housed not inferior to Senate's reps tell federal government.
And 25 killed in Niger boat crash.
All right. Courts hears Barbican FBN 5.4 billion naira shares dispute on October 21.
Okay, federal government stops VAT and diesel, cooking gas. Okay. All right, quickly to the Daily Trust this morning. Daily Trust, Constitution Review. Atiku proposes rotational presidency.
Man to federal government. Sanction officials making policies that ruin businesses.
Governor Lawa's allegations against Matawale despite onslaught and bandits up patriotic.
16 buried, 150 still missing after Niger boat mishap with a rider. Ferry conveying 300 Mawlud celebrants. Rescue operations still ongoing. 182 lives lost in 3 years.
Iran-Israel war. Federal government moves to evacuate Nigerians in Lebanon.
10 killed in Lagos road accidents.
Reps reject CFR national honor for speaker, demand GCON.
Kebbi governors donates SUVs to emirs. Well, we have Vanguard. Vanguard newspaper is still up. And let's see if we can get a thing or two from Vanguard. Vanguard lawyers, CSOs, Keek as hundreds of protesters rot in detention.
And 150 fear dead in Niger boats mishap. 16 bodies recovered.
Tinubu off to UK, begins 2 weeks annual leave.
Rivers local government polls, INEC, RISEC, disagree over voters register with rider as Fubara declares today, tomorrow public holidays.
Egwaivoin gives conditions to lead Super Eagles full-time.
Reps reject CFR demand GCON honor for speaker.
Okay, here we go. I thought I saw 6-year single term, but constitutional amendment Atiku proposes rotational presidency, 5-year single tenure.
Five.
Not 6.
Okay.
I thought it was 6.
All right. And the Edo PDP protest governorship election result, I think, is out. That's on the page 7 of the Vanguard.
All right. We would have to stop it here and get across to the other side of the table to engage Mr. Chris Maduka, who is standing by. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, Charles. Good morning, Belinda. It's good to be here again.
All right, so there's a whole lot that's going on in the system, especially as it concerns the economy, in the international situation. I don't even know what you think about the latest developments between Israel and Iran. Iran is basically, pushing Israel to act, and Israel have said through Netanyahu that it's a big mistake that Iran shot over 180 missiles into Israel's territory. We're going on a short break, though. We'll have you react to that. Stay with us. Signature television. So earlier was talking about the Iran and the Israel conflict. I don't know what Chris thinks about it. Mr. Chris, so many persons are tilting towards the fact that if this particular issue isn't managed properly, we could see another third world unfold in our eyes. So I just want to find out if you think that Israel is going to retaliate against what Iran did to it a few days ago.
Israel is a nation that their position when it comes to global issues is very sensitive. And they have even come out to say that they're not going to react so quickly to whatever Iran is pushing them to do. Because like the Igbo proverb said, Israel has to gauge and know what is the man who is held on the ground. Uche onye jinane. You have to find out what is the uche onye jinane. The person who is actually on the ground must be thinking something. For Iran to muster the courage to, you were saying 180, but the record says 200 missiles were shot in one single operation against Israel. Now, let me put it this way. If a madman is dressed up with explosives and runs into your sitting room where you're having dinner with your family, the question is, what are you going to do? Are you going to grab him and start fighting him there and then? And then, because obviously you know what has come. It has come with suicidal tendency. And it's this issue of I kill you, I kill myself. There's this joke of our brother who said he'll buy goat and kill everybody. Now, he meant to say that he'll buy goat and kill because his wife delivered. Now, what he means is Israel has to study this situation very well. America has to study this situation very well because Russia is also on the side watching. And these are all sensitive and deliberate issues. And that brings us to a point where you say you give the lives of 7 billion inhabitants of this globe and leave it to the hands of some politicians and policymakers of the world. That's when they start dancing all kind of, some people with dancing reggae with the holding your life in their hand, dancing reggae and doing some life fire-catching stunts. That's where the whole world should get involved and think about this. Because the world alignment, thank God Nigeria is non-aligned. There are a lot of countries in the world that the NATO said they are non-aligned. But how non-aligned they are now is also left to question. Because everybody is moving towards where they find their breakfast, where where the interest is. And that is what is critical about a global world where capitalism has taken the upper hand. You have few Russians, I don't think they're still practicing the socialist Marxism thing. It must have been diluted so much when the Russia fell down. That empire, that big conglomerate was cracked and they scattered. You find this, that's where the war is going. And I hope we are not trying to fulfill the book, the holy book, because everything is pointing towards the what they call it, that final showdown.
Like the countries rise against countries.
That's it. And then you find, there's a word they use, which I'm finding difficult to remember now. But that's what the end time crisis, whatever, and there's this fear that is grabbing everyone. When the stone climbs up, all the breakables below catch fire. And that's what has happened.
Right. How do you think the Africans or African nations should be reacting to this war? We know that at some point South Africa, because of their, posturing of social justice, they have actually asked Israel to stand down on what's going on in Gaza. It's more like an intimidation. That Israel's most of the time posed like they are the victims, whereas they are the aggressor here. So how do you think Africans should be reacting to the war? Should they be condemning it? Should they be trying to evacuate their people? Or people have come out to condemn what Israel have done. Some others have supported what Israel have done. How should the African continent be reacting to what's going on?
Any African country who want to react to whatever that is happening now must be very careful. You know why? Because when the push turns to shove, you have to identify yourself. You will be treated with the way where you stand. So we have to be very, very diplomatic in this and still maintain that non-aligned posture and preach peace. Because you don't know where the cookie will crumble. And for example, but when it gets to the point of you must declare your stand, well, it becomes the issue of whoever marries your father becomes your mother. Whichever woman becomes a wife of your father is automatically becomes your mother. And it has to be like that. So this is what has to be and the way we have to handle it. And we pray that God will intervene. Now, that's a funny thing about the world. The people of the world will clearly take decisions that put everybody in trouble. And then some of us will recoil back to calling God. In this situation, whatever that has pushed Iran to shoot 200 missiles, nuclear ballistic missiles in one day, and look at how it has been happening. The three domes and another different capacity were able to, because what they intended to achieve were not mere feat. They really did to inflict massive and heavy injury on Israel. And come to think about it, when people say Israel is a vehicle and trying to follow certain, but it's like the whole world. We know what Israel has suffered over time. And then you think that when they get the opportunity to really prove themselves that they have right to live in this world like any other person.
All right, let's bring it down. River State is boiling. Local government elections are due. The opposition is saying that the governor is not following due process, given that the judgments have stated that the elections must be stalled. But Fubara is going ahead to say today is a public holiday, tomorrow is a public holiday. We're going on with that particular elections that is due for Saturday. We all know how we got to this particular point. What's your take on this development, and how do you think this Rivers conundrum would end?
It is when the dinner goes sour. That's when you wake up in the morning and start telling people, this is what I ate last night. There is a problem already There's a foundational issue in River State. And like you said, I've sat on this seat several times and said, Fubara is like the legendary man who everybody want to kill and then take his life. So he has decided to swallow his life inside his stomach, just to prove that he has right to be a governor, and has right to reign, I mean, decide and dispose issues in River State, just like his predecessors had done. What is his offense? There's a way Fubara will ask now. Somebody will say Fubara is the villain, not the victim, just like Israel. Just tell me what single offense that Fubara has committed. All the PDP states have had their local government elections, and they did what they did. APC states have their elections, and they did what they did. African states have the election, did what they did. Now you ask, like Mike Ejaga in this story, what did I do? Is that the issue you asking? What offense did he commit? That somebody after him felt that he is worthy enough to continue on the seat of governing River State and handed him power, and they were very, very open to tell the world that I made him. He's accepted. And the man said, you made me. Allow me to breathe. You now said, okay, since I made you, because I bought pants for you as a man, every time I will now say, oh, remove your clothes, let me see how this pant fits you. Is it not what is the problem? And the world are watching. The elders have spoken. We can leave Fubara alone to breathe. Discuss out of this crisis. And I blame the people. The proverb in Igbo land says, it's only the yam of a madman, a stupid, foolish person. Only beribe. That's his only yam they use to prepare snake pepper soup. When we kill snake, he say, oh Charles, go and bring your yam, bless you, make pepper soup. Why not the next person? So if what is good for the geese is good for the gander, Wike, after 8 years of governing River State, should mind that, remember that there are other people who are the pass-through. And they didn't squeeze him to death. They still allow him dispose. What is the problem? As a governor, let allow you some element of power to dispose things. I support the right of people calling governors to order. But let's use legitimate way, not intimidation, not by saying where you set fire and where you quench fire and all those kind of, we overrating ourselves as human beings. And these are mere humans that can sleep and not wake up. But you create problems that will last. That's why I said that some of Nigerian politicians do not have any element of humanity left in them. Because there are certain actions they take, they forget tomorrow.
Okay, let's look at Atiku's proposal over 5 years, a rotational single tenure. What do you think? Do you think he's right with that proposal?
These are beautiful proposals. Now you ask yourself, that's like what I said. I'm not having anything against Atiku. I know he's also facing it. But these are how we made our math, and we're all lying in it. So let nobody complain. I know he had opportunity of being at Aso Rock for 8 years with his principal. This is the issue of rotational marginalization, had been there, and we have system. That's why I describe it as this 4-year-old shit. But this is the time you find it very convenient, and I still take it with a pinch of salt. You had good 8 years of, and even after that, you were in different political parties at a high level, not just as ordinary party member. Which of the party does he belong to now? As Atiku. If he belong to PDP, fine. If he belong to APC, then push. Because he has friends across. It's not something you go to the press. Let him lobby. He has power to sponsor bill at the National Assembly as at his position. And nobody will even hear it. Will you hear it? So all this kind of them, I hope he's not playing to the gallery. Because this one cannot, a lot of people have said it before. Nobody listened. It's like the state police. People are afraid because they know Why they are afraid? People who do not want the rotation of presidency are the people who just felt that they bring one useless argument, because, but what they have in mind, selfishness, believing that one set of Nigeria will continue to rule this nation, and that's where we have brought us to. Because if you allow, that's why he said they make statements that they don't believe. They preach what they don't believe. They speak when it's more convenient. They don't put it to action. How many? So what will it take us? What will it take us? A lot of things in Nigeria has played out though, that what is causing trouble in Nigeria is when you take, you take. In Igbo land they say, ewe kwa. That's what causes trouble. If I take and take again, then the trouble, the next man will say, you think say we are here to watch you? And that's what has happened. Some people have done it, suppress the people who we want to, even when you want to say, they can classify you as anything and keep suppressing you. But these are why they find that this endless run of the locust, you suppress this generation. When they want to die, they tell their children, these are people suppressing us. And they come up again and continue to fight. So, is it not time we say the suppression has not worked? If you have suppressed some people for 64 years, it has not brought us peace. It's only a stupid person that will continue on the same mindset of their cause problem and expecting a change. They say it every day. Even the politicians will use such words. They will not deem it fit to use that their overused words to go back and re-strategize and replan and reorganize and step down. All those words they overuse in Nigerian political atmosphere to look at this problem. So they're still speaking, playing to the gallery. I do not trust them and believe them. They have to convince Nigerians like us that what they are saying is true by saying one thing and doing it. These are people who say 1 billion things, they won't do one. And you only hear it, it looks nice on paper. Will paper solve the problem of Nigeria? Has paper solved the economical problem of Nigeria, which has collapsed totally? Has paper and all these talks solved the security situation in Nigeria, which has collapsed totally? Has it solved the governance situation in Nigeria, which has collapsed? Has it solved the health, education, all the sectors of Nigerian economy has collapsed? Not to go to the oil and gas. God help us.
God help us. I think that's where we cut it time because of our time this morning.
Okay. It's always better to take it in peace.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris, for your input. So we'll be taking a short break after that. We'll continue with some other segment. Do stay with us.
Welcome back. You are still watching Signature Morning on Signature Television. So in the spirit of the Independence Day celebration, we are going to be talking about politics as a
Yes.